Welcome to the TV and Variety Podcast with your host, Tyler Hannigan. We will cover a wide range of topics from sports to disabilities. So, hello, I am Tyler Hannigan, and on our podcast today, we're going to be talking about Blues' upcoming hockey season and what our thoughts are. So, Dad, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Blues season?
It's going to be a rough one. They've got a lot of, halfway decent players, but nobody's great. And I just don't think they've done enough on the defensive side of play to really say we're even going to be competitive against the top-tier teams. So I wouldn't be surprised if we were in the bottom of the division next year.
In terms of defense, how could they have improved on defense?
Well, I think Armstrong got himself in a quandary because he signed Parayko and I think Krug. I know Parayko was for like 8-year deal, and some of the other guys, Cruz got a no trade, and a couple of the others. So there was not a whole lot he could do. I mean, he was stuck unless some other team wanted to take on, a long-term contract, and we'd have to eat a lot of the dollars. It wasn't going to happen. And he did try to move Krug, and that got Torrey Krug rejected it. So with his no trade clause, so our defense was not very good last year, and I don't suspect it's going to be much different this year unless some of the coaching changes. Maybe they'll have a different approach on how they handle the defensive zone.
So my thoughts in terms of Blues defense is kind of similar to what you're saying. He got himself in a quandary with those 8-year deals. If Doug Armstrong had not got himself into that quandary, I feel like they could have gotten some better defense, especially some bigger, tougher players. I feel like
they really do need that. They need tougher, more guys the size of Parayko, but Parayko doesn't play tough. And that's what they need.
Especially in playoff time. The bigger your players are, especially in the Western Conference, it's more heavy. And so if you have heavier players that can do all the stuff, clear the front of the net, protect your goalie, that's very important, in my opinion. Do you agree?
I agree. And when you look forward to the upcoming year, it just looks like the other teams in our division got better. They made moves to improve the team. And the Blues, Kevin Hayes is decent, but you're trying to replace Ryan O'Reilly, Tarasenko, and others, goal-scoring capability guys with Kevin Hayes, who I think Philadelphia was happy to see him go. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting year. I just hope it doesn't turn into a disaster, kind of like the baseball Cardinals did this year.
So out of all the Blues players, which one do you think is going to have a breakout year?
That's a good question. Good question. I mean, he kind of had a breakout year this past year, but my favorite player still on the team is Buchnevich. He just constantly shows to have the talent, and even though the rest of the team could be faltering, he always seems to step up his game and score a goal here or there. So I think he's probably going to have the best year of all of them. How about you?
In my opinion, I think two players. Buchnevich, I agree with, and Jakub Vrana.
Yeah, he ended the season really good.
Especially with Jakub Vrana and Kasperi Kapanen. Last year, they made a huge impact in trying to show what they could do. I think those were two breakout players at the end of last year. I think they will have a great year this year. However, anybody on the Blues roster.
Oh, okay. You mean as far as the players?
As far as players go.
Yeah, when I look at the Blues standing, who they're up against, I mean, I don't know. I guess the Hawks may not be ready this year, but they're going to be, I think, dramatically improved and from the previous year, and I just don't see much difference on the Blues to think they're going to have a better year next year than they did this past year.
So my final thoughts are, I think the Blues are going to probably have a little bit of a struggle. I'll give them like a 5-year window for them to get better. But Yeah, they're in a tough division, so.
Yeah, I hope the season doesn't end with Craig Berube either getting fired or leaving to go to coach some other team.
I hope not either.
Yeah, that's what could happen.
All right. So that's our thoughts on the Blues season. Thank you for tuning in to the T-Man Variety Podcast. You can catch us on YouTube and iTunes.